This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. This week we are going to try and get the chamfer panels up on the boat. So we have a lot of things to do in order to get them up there. So we're hoping to get that done so that we can actually start on them. But before we talk about that, we want to talk about a brand new piece of equipment we have been given, the Robust True Impact Driver.
Right, so what happened was we had an impact driver we've been using for over a year now, and it's got epoxy all over it over many, many days of uses around epoxy, because everything gets it on you. I have had it on almost every square inch of my body at some point, and more than you needed to know. But the week that we broke it, I was contacted by this company that wanted us to do a little review, and they would give us one. So I don't know who's looking out for us. We had good karma going on here, but the week we broke ours, somebody said they want to give us one. So we said, sure. And just like everything that we do accept, we never accept anything where we have to give it a good review. We just say, we'll look at it and say whatever we think. So this is the little impact driver that they gave us, and it came with, you know, a couple of batteries and the driver itself, which can be both a 1/4 inch for what we're going to use it for a lot, or we can take that off and use it as an impact driver. And we have uses for that as well. For example, when we're taking our gates off and stuff, over there we have to pull big bolts and things off. So it'll work for both things, and we'll give you a further review of it as we use it. We'll show you the uses of it. But just wanted to mention that it was fortuitous that somebody offered to give us one, and so that's really nice. Saves us some money, and we can really use that on the thing. There are so many things that have cost on building a boat. I was just thinking the other day of just how much we spent in things like alcohol, cups, gloves, stir sticks, all those things. It's incredible how many we go through, and we budgeted $7,000 for that, and it won't be enough. So there are just a lot of costs, and so we're trying to keep them down where we can. So let's head on over and to the boat, and we're going to get started working on it this week and show you how that goes. It's a nice Monday morning, and new week, and so new goals, of course. And this week our goal is to get the chamfer panels on both sides dry fitted up. That means actually screwed onto here. So we're going to be taking some 2x4s and attaching them to the bulkhead so that we can screw through the chamfer panel with some either another piece of wood on the other side, or at least washers, but and screw into this. We can't screw into the foam. So we're going to put these on, and that way we can tighten this up. And the idea is to get it on here, make sure it's all perfect before we get to the chamfer panel that goes in front, which is going to be a real problem. It's our next biggest difficult thing left on the boat. We keep going in order. And in that one, that chamfer panel has to roll up. So it has to twist and roll up, and that's going to be very difficult to do. We might have to kerf it, we might not. We're going to find out. But we're going to get the easy half on first, and then we'll get to the side that has to go through the bending and twisting. So today we're going to get all these 2x4s on, and on both sides, and we might start fitting hole number 1 here, which is what that's called for this chamfer panel, and up onto here. Now earlier this morning, I didn't film it because you saw it from last week's video. We put some of the dummy cove strips onto the port side of the hull, which we'd already showed you on the starboard side, so didn't want to go through that again with you. So if you need to see that, go to last week's video. So this week, on to these chamfer panels and dry fitting them in. The dry fitting is going to be much harder than the actual bonding part of it. Once they fit, it's easy enough to bond them on and all that stuff. But getting them fitted, that's going to be tough. Now we've already pulled the peel ply on these first two big, huge hole number ones, so we don't have to do that. So they're ready to go up. Now we haven't pulled the hole number one bow pieces out yet. They're still in the shipping container, and we haven't pulled the peel ply on those yet. But those are the last two big panels. Let me show you. Okay, so here we are going in the shipping container, and as you can see, there's not a lot left in here. There's this big panel here with that sharp point up there. That's the bow section of hole number one, the chamfer panel. And there's two of those, as you can see here. Once those are out of here, we're really down to just these small pieces here and some small pieces here. So one halfway decent size, one here, maybe 12 feet long or so. But that will all fit into that white container. And so we can get this thing for sale and get this out of here, because the problem is that, as you can see here, this is a very narrow spot that we have to walk in and out of every time we want to get a tool or anything, or parts out and stuff like that. And so once we've sold this orange shipping container, you can see it's plenty of room between it and the hole over here. And we'll move this white one right where this orange one used to be. And suddenly we'll have nothing in front here, and we'll have all that space open to us. So that's the plan. And we'll be happy to not be walking through that little narrow piece over here. And over here you see Brian's working on hole number one, and he's just getting it measured up right now so we can start working on getting these 2x4s in and up onto the boat today. Ready? Yeah. We're putting holes in our boat. Not holes. It's gonna leak. All these areas are gonna get filled and tabbed over, so none of these holes are gonna matter. If I can get a screw in there. Look good. All right. Next, so we have to be a little more careful of where we put these. We want to go through that reinforcement. Fortunately, I can see the reinforcement. Go. A little higher. I can still see wood there. Didn't suck down. I'll get it. Right. This morning we already put on a few more of the dummy codes, but you've seen lots of that, so we didn't film that. And now we're going to go ahead and put the last of the F-web supports that go from bulkhead 8 to 7. And we just hadn't put those on yet because they weren't part of curving this up. And so we didn't really need to have them on there yet. But it's time to get them up there because we need them there for the chamfer panels that's going to go up. And the reason we hadn't put it up yet is just was more stuff to bang our heads on. But now it's time to put it up. So this is the panel, and it's going to go basically about there. So the first thing we're going to do here is get some blocks on it to hold it up. So we've got our blocks pre-made already from past F-webs that we put on. So we got our blocks in here ready to go up. We've got a laser line marking this, and we've also written on it just in case we blocked the laser on both sides. So we're pre-drilling some screw holes in here and getting some through screws ready to go. Then we're going to put some glue down and glue it in place. We can tab the back side of it after that, and then tomorrow we'll remove the blocks out and tab the other side. think we're ready to roll. So that means Brian's got to go mix some epoxy. And I got to get it cleaned up, sanded, and that kind of stuff. Let me get the sander out before you start mixing. Okay, we're all prepped, and Brian's up there mixing right now. So we're ready to put this thing on. And as soon as we get this port one on, other side, get the starboard one on there. Now, we have another helper coming today. We've got Dale arriving somewhere in the next 30 minutes or so. So we'd like to get these two up before he gets here, but we'll see. Because Dale's here to help us get these huge chamfer panels up and screwed onto the boat. We needed a third person for that, because yesterday we took a look at that and 2 people just wasn't gonna fly. Okay, let's get some epoxy on here. Okay, let's clean these up. Hey, Dale. Hey, Dale! Brian's just cleaning up a little bit and we'll move on. All right, we're getting the first chamfer panel up here. And this is why we needed Dale. Okay, other side of me. Still at angle. And I have let loose. All right, it's up there. So it fits pretty good. Happy enough for now. So what we have to do is snug the front in. We didn't have any posts up here, so we're gonna have to snug this up tight here. So I think we'll put a block in here and get that snugged up. So this is the port side stern chamfer panel, and we're gonna test fit it next. Pretty close still. Pretty close. A little further. Time for a dry fit. We're gonna do the same thing, way past it. I got it. Okay. So, you got it? Yep. It's very, very close. It's off just a hair. And on your end, I'm going to make the same kind of marks we did before. Okay, we're ready to take it down. Oh, that 2x4's moved. I got this if you want to get the 2x4. So it's very, very, very close. It's off at one end by this much, which is about 8 millimeters, and it's off maybe 3 millimeters on the other end. So we're going to have to shave about 3 millimeters off at an angle down to 8 millimeters on the other end to get this to fit in here perfect. And in the world of foam epoxy and fiberglass of something that big and all this huge thing we put together, that's damn near right on. So we're real happy with that fit. We'll fix it up for the perfect fit now. All right, we're bringing this out for our trim job. This isn't the trim job on this side?
Yeah.
So we're gonna...
Yeah, I figure we get it in and then flip it.
We are. Getting it in and then flipping it.
Ready?
Which way are we going? Okay.
All right.
Cleaned off the edge and then sanded it smooth and went ahead and mounted the boards onto it that are going to be used to screw it in.
This is test fit number 2 after we've made a slight adjustment to the edge. Great.
Let's settle down to the hole. Let's settle down to the hole.
Launch! Yesterday was putting on big, huge panels and such. That was a lot of lifting and things. Today, Brian and I are here alone, so we're going to just do some tabbing. We've got these 3 compartments up front here, which are going to be the big lockers up on deck. And we've raised the floor up, but we haven't tabbed them in yet. And then also, we've curved up the curved section of the front of the bridge deck, but that needs to be sealed in completely. And so, you know, first we're gonna tab the bottoms of these right here. The sides are already tabbed, but the bottoms are not. Then we want to seal this curved area here more. We already has epoxy inside of the curves, but it needs more than that. So what we're going to do is put a layer of basalt across this whole thing, and this is where our windlass is going to be here, and the chain's going to fall down into the bottom of this. And we're a little concerned that there's enough space here for 300 feet of chain. We're not sure yet, so we're going to have to get some calculations on volume and such for that. What we can do, if it's not big enough, is cut through a low portion of this wall right here and create a little box inside of here that the chain can slide down into to give it more room. We wouldn't lose all of this huge compartment. We would just lose a section down low there where it
there'd be a little, like I say, almost like a shelf that's boxed in that would have room for the chain to go down through from this side. So anyhow, today we're going to try and get the basalt on here, try to get these things coved here. Now we're not going to do the outside ones yet. Eventually we will, but as you can see, there's still holes through, and same thing on the side there. So those need to be sealed up before we bother tabbing and doing all the working on these sides, you know, over here. So this involves the chamfer panel that we're going to be putting on the bow. So it's going to come up and meet up with the edge of this curve right here and seal these portions of it up. So once those chamfer panels are on, then we'll tab and glass these curves on both sides. So that's what's going on. And now I'm going to climb out because I don't need to be in there yet. And Brian's mixing up some epoxy, so I'm going to start with a cove at the bottom of the forward curved compartment and get that working. Then while that's curing, we'll cove this one and get the glass tabbing done on it right there. All right, we sanded all the surfaces, wiped them all down, cleaned them all up. Got our little vacuum out first, of course, before we cleaned them with alcohol. So it's all ready to tab in down here now. So I've got Brian mixing up thickened epoxy, and I'll climb in here in a moment. We've also got all of our fiberglass and peel ply ready to roll. So as soon as I put these coves on, he'll mix up the thin, and we'll get those right on quickly and knock this one out in just an hour. So while I'm waiting, this morning I was dealing with customs as we were getting our shipment, our next shipment from Schoening, and that's coming about 2 weeks from now. It should arrive in port, and so that'll get some much needed parts that are coming in there for us. Some of these are fixes to the kit that were just slight oversights, and they didn't charge us for this stuff. They just are shipping it to us. So that's good of Schoening. And some of it's my rudders, shafts that we had machined in South Africa because the price was good. And so we had it done there since I was having a shipment come anyway. And since some other stuff, we've run low on silica, so we've got some more silica coming, stuff like that. Also, I got word that my biggest remaining order, which is from Goyo, is shipping. So it's in a 1,300-pound crate, and that'll be arriving probably a couple months. But that has a ton of different stuff in there, do with steering, stanchions, tillers, hatches, doors. I mean, just all the glass, acrylic that goes around the salon. It's just a lot of stuff. So it's a really big order. And it'd be nice to have all that stuff, although we probably won't be putting a lot of that on yet, because we don't want to put the nice finished acrylics and the nice hatches and stuff on until we've faired this whole monster and got all that sanding done. So, and painting even. So that's one of the last things we put on are all the acrylic and hatches and all that stuff. But I will store those, not at the lot. I'll probably store those in my garage until the time we need them. Perfect timing. Double tabbed and peel plied, all set. We decided to go with basalt up in this particular compartment because this is where the chain's going to land, and basalt's just a little more durable than the regular fiberglass would be. So we put a layer of basalt in here. Brian's in here smoothing out the peel ply onto it right now. It's a nasty job because you got to lean way down to the bottom. I did the glassing, he's doing the peel ply. All right, well, About ready to put this on. I got all my tools and my glass and peel ply, and put the cove on, get any excess off, roll on the epoxy, smooth out any bubbles. Of course, gloves. So ready to go. We're going to do both sides at the same time, and it's cool enough that shouldn't be a problem with the epoxy setting up at all. So we should be good to go. So while Brian's tabbing the other side of the F-Web 4 piece on both sides, Jeff and I have been here working out an issue that almost painted myself into a corner here. Because right here, this is a bulkhead, and on the other side over here, there's another bulkhead. But in between here, there's a piece that is not a bulkhead. It's actually the back of the cupboard from the cabin in the forward there. Second, I got a helicopter going by. Because this piece that goes in here was not a bulkhead, we weren't worried about putting it in yet. The problem is that we started glassing in the top of the deck, and suddenly, without thinking about it, how do you get that not bulkhead, that divider, I'll call it here, for the cupboard in, since we can't come from the top anymore? Well, we lucked out, and as you can see over here where Jeff is, we managed to get it squeezed just barely in there. So we didn't end up painting ourselves into a corner. But right now what we're doing is, Jeff and I have been doing some measurements here of where do we want this exactly, because we're changing the plan slightly here. The issue is that I want a workbench in one of these, and on the other side I want it to be the sail storage locker. But on the side that it's going to be the workbench, there's going to be a shelf right here, and I needed room to sit on a stool underneath of that shelf. It also means that we're going to have to seal this hole up because it's no longer a cupboard. This is going to get sealed up, and we're going to have to cut open this one so that we have access to this side of it. And we'll probably have tools, place to put tools up on the wall there, and cupboards on the sides and stuff. But we had to refigure that all out because it didn't come cut this way in the plans, unfortunately. Now that is something that I did change the plans to, but they just didn't cut it that way. They cut it the way the original plans were, which was identical on both sides. That's not a big deal. It's just foam and epoxy and such. We can cut it as needed. And we'll still use this piece. We're just going to cut it open, and we're going to take a piece and seal this up. But we had to know how high we wanted the sole inside of here, how much space we needed for the hatch up top to get into here, because we're going to have steps coming down. How much we could do for the thickness of the bench. Also, where did this one fit into there? Fortunately, it fits where about the width of the bench that I want anyway. So that all worked out. So this is going to work just fine. And so we're going to get prepped up and get this one actually put in here right now before we do any more work and actually do paint ourselves into a corner. So, for example, if we'd have put this chamfer panel up, which is the thing we were starting to work on this morning, we could never have got this in here without chopping it into pieces, which I would prefer not to do. So fortunately, we're good. And we're going to get to work figuring the floor that we have to cut, because the sole that goes in there is this piece here that fits inside of here. And because we changed the bench seating in there, this floor
has to go down just a little bit more. And so we have to trim off that piece to make it fit correctly for the bench and all that good stuff for your feet and your knees to work and those kinds of things. So that's what we're going to be up to right now. So we have cab 1 in. That's this piece right here, which is the back to the cupboard over here. This is not a bulkhead. And as you can see down below here, we've got our floor in here, and then we've got it glued to the sides as well, and you can see it matches up to that deck piece nicely. Remember, these ones are just dry fitted up here, so they don't matter. The only one that's fixed in, like there, is the deck piece, and it fits perfectly across there. So this is all set, and this is the width of what our workspace is going to be for the shelf, and this part here is going to get all cut out, so we just have the shelf on here. So this one's all set. So we're moving over here. That's what Brian's doing. And Brian's been over here cleaning this one up, because on this side we're going to be doing it a bit different. This is the original layout. We're not putting a workroom in here, so we're going with just the standard pieces. We don't have to cut anything custom here. So we're going to put that together right now. So we got our laser in here, and that gives us the level floor on there. So we've got that marked where it goes. And we got that height from checking what this height is here, because the floor sits, the sole of this area sits right on top of this right here. And so it's all set. We've got our laser line there, so good to go. I need to notch the bottom of this next for the keelson to go on here. Oh, sorry, here. All right, cab 1 is now glued in to the bottom down there. So it's all set. For tomorrow we'll do some more work on it, because we're gonna let the glue set up, and then before we do any kind of tabbing on it. So both of these cab 1s, excuse me, are both set up. This one's for storage of sails and stuff. You come down from the hatch, which is actually on this side up here, come down the stairs, and you have some sail storage on that side, and of course in this upper area up here is all sail storage. Now our life raft is probably going to be inside right here. We're going to build a special holder for it. It'll be vertical like this against that hull side over there, and when you open the hatch you can reach in, and it's a soft-sided bag that's in, and you just pull it straight up and out. And we want the life raft up forward, and the logic behind the life raft being up here is that when do you need a life raft on a catamaran? The boat's not going to sink if you hit something. It's not going to sink if you flip it over. This particular catamaran is designed to have enough buoyancy that it's going to float. Whether you cut a hole in the bottom, whether you flip it over, either way it's going to float. So you don't need a life raft for that, most likely. You could use it, but you don't have to have it. So why spend all that money and get that weight and stuff for a life raft if you're not going to need it for that? Because there's one case where you really do need it. If there's a fire on board and we burn this whole boat to the ocean and there's nothing left, you kind of need a life raft for that point. So it's fire that causes us to want to use a life raft. So where do you put a life raft when you think about it that way? And the typical mounts at the stern of the boat are a bad idea on a catamaran, simply because the time that you need that life raft when there's a fire. So where's the most likely place there's going to be a fire? One of the most likely places is the engine rooms, and that's at the stern. And if the stern is on fire, you don't really want to go to the fire to try to launch your life raft. The second most common place is a galley, which is a midship on there, and so that's the second most likely place to have a fire. So we want to put the life raft in the least likely place where there's a fire, and that is forward up here. There's just not much up here. Electrical, anything. There's just not much up here, so you're very unlikely to catch a fire up here. So wherever there's a fire, if we can't put it out with our fire extinguishers and stuff, and we have to abandon ship, we're going to go forward away from the fire, and we want that life raft up here where we can just pull it out and launch it, tie it down, launch it right up here, and get into it where we're not near the fire. and that's why we're putting it up here. And I'm going with the soft-sided one simply because I don't have to have it out on deck, taking up deck space in that case. I can put it just below in that hatch. You open the hatch up, you reach straight down, pull straight up, and you've got the life raft. So we'll make it sure it's easy enough to get out. We'll test it and then practice with that, and hope to never, ever, ever have a fire, but we'll have it just in case. It's Saturday, the end of the week for us. We've got Terry and Jeff in here helping today, along with Brian and I, of course. So we found 3 F-cab pieces that have to go on before the chamfer panel can go, just to make it easier access to mounting them. So we got to get those done before we can get to the chamfer panel up there. Here's where they go. I'll show you a little diagram. So I see they're up at the bow here. We've been working on adding this little panel in here, F-cab 4, and putting some dummy coves in down in here so that we can get this sole piece here placed down in there soon. And so we're letting all that cure right now, and then we'll get to work over on this side as well. We gotta do the same thing. We've got to put in a piece that goes here and another one that goes over here, and we'll get to that one after lunch. So this all had to be done prior to the chamfer panel going in, because we wouldn't have had easy access if we could have still got to it from the top. If we moved that dry fitted deck piece off, we could have come down from the inside, but reaching down in here to do a cove and tab would have been pain, where it's really easy to do it now before the chamfer panels go on. So trying to get things in the correct order to make life easier on us.
This week we did manage to get some of the chamfer panels up in the stern of the boat, but we found out there were some other items that we needed to get done at the bow of the boat before we could get the chamfer panels in. So we did get that stuff completed.
Right, and we also got these cab 1s in, and these are the extra pieces she's talking about. And as you can see, we also did some on this side, and don't forget we also worked up on the storage areas and put some basalt in there. So we got lots of stuff done, and next week we're gonna continue and try to get the forward bow sections of the chamfer panels on up here. But thank you all for stopping by and joining us for a little bit of this video. If you made it to the end, thank you. And thanks to all of our patrons who support this project. We really appreciate them.
Yes, thank you so much for watching. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
We'll see you next week when we're gonna put this thing up here, and boy, that's gonna be challenging, but hey, it's the last 2 big pieces that go onto the boat. Everything after that gets smaller and less difficult. So these are the last 2. Looking forward to getting them up there. See you then.
Bye.